I'm recording. So, welcome everybody. I'm going to pass straight over to the wonderful Lucy Macnab, who I still keep calling Lucy Gallagher, to kick off this evening. And then I'll be taking over as we go through the slides and the information that we've got to share with you, which we are super excited to share with you. So, make sure you are ready with your brain switched on, notepads ready to take notes, because we want you to take as much from this workshop as humanly possible, things that you can implement, things that you can start thinking about straight away. And we're going to share a few key things at the end that might be really, really supportive for you. So I will pass over to you, Luce.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Gut Health 101. So, as Sarah said, my name's Lucy Macnab, and yeah, we're going to explore the incredible world of the gut microbiome and its impact on our health today. A little bit about me, just we're going to give a quick intro each. So, I am a mummy to Lily. She's 3.5. I'm 29 weeks pregnant with my second. My background's in business psychology, and I work in an IT company as a head of inclusion and well-being. And I'm also running an Arbonne business, and I'm a pole instructor. So I do lots of different things, and particularly in the world of wellness. And my journey into well-being and nutrition started around about 10 years ago after lots of dieting in my youth, doing every possible diet you can imagine, then going through a period of undereating and some dysfunction, lots of dysfunctional behavior. I had a lot of IBS related symptoms, bloating, dodgy tummy, generally not feeling great after food. And when I partnered with Arbonne and I started our nutrition program, it completely changed my relationship to food. It stopped my IBS symptoms and my bloating and really helped me improve my overall wellness massively. So the main premise of that and what I did 10 years ago is around gut health, helping you know what to eat and ensure that your gut thrives. So we're obviously going to go into that today and have become fascinated by it ever since. So that's a little bit of background on me, and I'll pass back over to Sarah for an intro.
Amazing. Thank you so much, my friend. So, welcome everybody. For those of you that I have not yet had the pleasure of meeting in real life, my name is Sarah Law. I am a qualified naturopathic nutritionist and functional health coach, which basically means I'm a bit of an absolute geek. Any of my friends, especially Lucy, who know me, know that my biggest kind of joy is taken in basically learning about the human body and everything about it. And my journey into the world of nutrition actually started about 16 years ago. So I used to be a professional performer. I worked in musical theatre, absolutely loved what I did, but I'd always had a really big passion for health and wellness. And a lot of that also, again, just like Lucy, came from my own journey. I had issues in my teens and 20s with disordered eating, not fueling myself properly. Then I had an underactive thyroid and I didn't really know why. And now I look back and I know exactly why. And I also watched my mum go through menopause at 32 years old, which is very, very young. So you could say that it was instilled in me from a very young age to really kind of start thinking about wellness. My mum is my biggest inspiration. When she went through menopause, she basically became her own health advocate. And she basically, at that point, when mainstream medicine failed her, went and researched everything herself. She used to drag me around these herbal shops, which at the time I absolutely hated. I was like, why am I in this flipping Culpepper's where there's herbal teas everywhere? But it was really the kind of catalyst to now, what I do. And I absolutely love what I do. And 16 years ago, also, when I started training as a nutritionist, I partnered with Arbonne as a brand. And the reason I did was because they fell in such alignment with my values as a brand, focusing on inner and outer healthy living, gut health, and really teaching people the fundamentals of healthy living through clean, effective products and programs that we run. So, I am going to kick off by sharing some information about the gut because it is absolutely fascinating. And just type in the chat box if you can, if you've ever suffered with any kind of gut issues, whether that be bloating, gas, you know that you've got some kind of bacterial overgrowth. Maybe you've done some kind of testing. Maybe you've done the Zoe test. Maybe you've actually done a GI map. Or maybe you're just like, do you know what? My gut, I seem to have lots of food intolerances, or there's foods that I used to be able to eat that I can no longer eat. Just type a yes in the chat box if that's you. And I can guarantee it's probably pretty much everyone at some point in their life has had some kind of digestive issues. But what I want to share with you is the fact that it's not just digestive issues that show up when you've got poor gut health. And we'll talk more about this as we go through. You may have no bloating and no gas and no constipation, but still have gut issues that you don't really know are gut issues because they're actually translating into other areas of your body because the gut rules everything, literally everything. It's connected to everything and it rules everything. So, our gut health is basically home to trillions upon trillions of bacteria. And I always love to give the analogy of a garden. So if you think of a beautiful garden, in a lovely garden, there should be lots of different types of flowers, right? I mean, I am no green-fingered person. I look at my grass outside and I'm like, oh, it's not been cut for a very long time and it's looking rather yellow. Anyway, so a beautiful garden would have lots of different types of flowers. That's what makes it really pretty. And there may be a few weeds that just lurk around the edge, and we can kind of deal with the weeds, right? As long as there's not too many of them and they don't overgrow. The problems start to lie when we don't feed the flowers. Let's say you just go, do you know what? I can't be bothered to water the flowers, so I'm not going to. What would happen? They'd all kind of die. And then you just give the weeds what they need. The weeds would start to run rampant in your garden. And that wouldn't make a very nice garden. It's exactly the same with your gut. You have trillions of bacteria that are like the flowers. We need this diversity of all these different species and strains of bacteria. And there are certain ones that we can live in harmony with, like the weeds, as long as there's not too many of them. But as soon as they start to overgrow, when they have the opportunity to, that's why they're called opportunistic bacteria. When they have the opportunity to overgrow, that's exactly what they do. And that normally happens when there is an immunocompromised body, low stomach acid, low digestive enzymes, too much stress, too much processed foods. All the things we're going to share with you are the reasons people end up in that position. And that's not the place you want to be, because when that happens and you don't have that diversity within your gut microbiome of the good bacteria and the bad bacteria or the opportunistic ones start to overgrow, that's when you will start to notice symptoms. And that could be multiple different things that you start to notice. So our gut bacteria, those goodies in the gut, basically regulate everything. They regulate our immune system. About 80% of our immune system is actually located in our gut lining. And so we need to make sure that we've got a healthy mucosal lining that houses that immune system. Those bacteria impact that. They produce vitamins for us. So things like B12 are produced by gut bacteria and vitamin K. And there is so much more that these bacteria do. They help regulate blood sugar. They control how many calories are actually absorbed into our body from food. And that's why two people could have exactly the same diet and one gains weight and one loses weight because they can determine how many calories are extracted from your food. They play a role in mental health. They, produce things like serotonin. It's just madness what actually happens in our gut. We actually have more bacteria in our gut than we do have human cells in the entire body, which is really, really quite freaky to think about. But also, these bacteria, which is called the microbiome, they interact with all the other microbiomes that we have within the body. So we have microbiomes on our skin, we have microbiomes in our vagina, up our nostrils, I mean, on everywhere, in every orifice that you can think of and every nook and cranny, there is a microbiome. And the gut microbiome speaks to those microbiomes. So that's why you can have a gut that's a mess and full of weeds and end up with skin issues, but not really any issues with your gut. In fact, I'm working with a client one-to-one at the moment who is exactly that. Terrible acne, has had it for years, no gut issues, did a GI map on her, and it is literally like so many overgrowths. It's unbelievable. And it's just presenting in the skin, not necessarily in bloating and gas. So, like I mentioned, digestion and nutrient absorption happens in the gut. The gut microbiome helps break down complex carbohydrates, fibers, other nutrients that our body can't digest on its own. Those nutrients then feed certain bacteria that keep the gut lining in check and healthy, and then that means the immune system stays happy. That then regulates the immune system. Like I mentioned, about 70 to 80% of our immune system is located in the gut lining. So we want to make sure that that gut lining is nice and healthy. Otherwise, we're going to have immune system reactions. If anyone here has an autoimmune condition, I can guarantee some of it is linked to your gut health. I can say that because I've been there. I have an autoimmune condition myself called Hashimoto's, which is a thyroid one. It's not the thyroid that's the problem, it's the immune system, and that's stemming from the gut a lot of the time. So we have to think about these things. And if you're someone who's got suddenly a long list as long as both of your arms of foods that you seem to react to all the time, and you get more and more every month, you're suddenly like, oh, now I can't eat this without bloating, now I can't eat this without bloating, now I can't eat this without getting a migraine. That is a sign that your immune system is probably upregulated and you've got what we call a leaky gut, which I'll explain a bit more about in a moment. The production of neurotransmitters, like I mentioned, the gut is often called the second brain for a reason, because it produces many of the same neurotransmitters like serotonin, dopamine, etc., are produced in the gut. And that makes a huge impact on our mental health because that stimulates something called the vagus nerve, which connects the gut to the brain. And then that translates into what's happening in our mental state as well. Detoxification happens through the gut. And I'm going to talk a bit more about this when I talk about hormones, because it's so unbelievably important to know the relationship between your gut and your hormones and your hormones and your gut. So there is so much that happens in the gut. What happens in the gut doesn't stay in the gut, basically, not like Vegas. So we need to think about all these things and we need to think about how it's influencing our entire body, not just the gut. So if I can get the slides to move. Oh, I've gone the wrong way. Going well. So, like I mentioned, your gut microbiome and the state of your gut impacts how you detoxify toxins. That could be environmental toxins, molds, parts of the immune system like histamine, which is released from mast cells in the immune system. Your gut is responsible for breaking down some of that. And hormones are a part of that as well. Now, there's a really bi-directional relationship between hormones in the gut and hormones. So I want to explain this to you because it's so important, especially as females, but even for men, they have hormones too, just like we do. It's important for all of us. So how does the gut impact our hormones? This is something I see on a daily basis, especially for my kind of age category, because I'm in my 40s, mid 40s, and we're going through that age where hormones are shifting around and we blame everything on our hormones. And I'm like, but is it actually your hormones? Because it could be your gut that's impacting your hormones and making your hormones go off. So if you're in that kind of perimenopause age, yes, hormones can be playing a role. But if you're not, and you're having hormonal imbalances, you have to go back to the state of your gut. Because what basically happens in a healthy gut is ovaries produce our hormones. Let's take estrogen. When estrogen has been used by the body, it goes to the liver. The liver breaks it down. This is how we excrete hormones. Once we've used hormones, we have to excrete them. So the liver breaks it down into what we call a metabolite, which is a more toxic version of estrogen. That needs to be neutralized. And what then happens is bile, which is created in our liver and stored in our gallbladder, then grabs that estrogen metabolite, dumps it into the gut, and then the gut should package it up and then we transport it out of the body through pooping. So if you're not going to the toilet every single day, if you're someone who is not pooping daily, there is issues right there because you're not getting rid of that estrogen and toxins, because the way we detoxify toxins and estrogen is exactly the same. So that's really important because when we have an unhealthy microbiome, there is an enzyme that can be released by certain bacteria in the gut called beta glucuronidase. And that enzyme allows that estrogen to be unraveled and recirculate back into the body. So when you have that recirculation instead of exit point for estrogen, guess what's going to happen? Hormonal imbalances, high estrogen levels compared to progesterone. This is when you start to get heavy periods. You might experience things like fibroids, heavy bleeding, mood swings, all of the things that come with cycles that are not as they should be. Now, let's look at the flip side of that. How do hormones impact the gut? So hormones really help us regulate our gut microbiome. Unfortunately, as we age and hormones decline, we have less diversity in our gut microbiome. Part of parcel of aging, unfortunately, as a female when hormones diminish. So lower hormones means lower diversity of bacteria, less different types of flowers, a less beautiful garden, less different species that do all of those important things like regulate insulin, regulate blood sugar, help us break down food, create nutrients, help us digest properly, all of that. On top of that, we produce less digestive enzymes as well. And then on top of that, low hormones can actually impact the gut lining as well. So our gut lining, which is very, very thin, it's only like 2 cells thick, can get damaged a lot easier because we haven't got the integrity, because hormones help with that integrity of the gut lining. So when we don't have that integrity there of the gut lining, that means that undigested food proteins and particles can escape through the gut lining, and any kind of what we call endotoxins, which are bacteria that are coming from harmful bacteria, then have the opportunity to come through the gut lining. And there's the immune system. And the immune system will be like, whoa, what on earth is this? You should not be entering here. So I'm going to form a massive attack. And this is when we start to see immune systems getting out of balance, getting aggressive, getting overactive. Autoimmune conditions can come from this, and also just overactivity of the immune system in general, which then drives more inflammation throughout the body. Then these endotoxins can escape into the body and into the bloodstream and deposit all around and cause more inflammation that annoys the immune system even more. Then you get stuck in this chronic inflammation cycle. And when your body is stuck in that chronic inflammation cycle, the next thing that happens is it automatically puts your body into fight or flight mode. When your body's in fight or flight mode, what's the one thing that shuts down? Your gut. Because your body thinks it's in danger. It thinks you're running from a saber-toothed tiger. The last thing it needs is to be digesting food at that point. So what it essentially does is go, right, let's lower stomach acid production, let's lower digestive enzyme production. They're the two things that keep a check on your gut bacteria and help you digest better. And then you're in real trouble. Who here has tried eating when they're really stressed? Anyone? What happens? You literally just like blow. It does. Have you ever felt that where you're literally like, oh my God, that I literally feel like I've eaten a brick and it's not going through my digestive system. That's because you're not producing digestive enzymes. All of your energy is being shunted to the most necessary processes, which are muscles to help you run from the saber-toothed tiger that's not really there. It could be the angry work email, or it could be the immune system that's overly aggressive. So then we get stuck in this cycle. So can you see how it works both ways? We need healthy hormones to have a healthy gut, but we need a healthy gut to have healthy hormones. So which comes first depends on you, the age that you're at, and what's happening in your life. But we have to go back to the gut in both scenarios and work on the gut, work on that diversity of the microbiome, work on keeping the gut lining nice and solid and healthy and happy so that our immune system stays solid, healthy, and happy. So am I passing over to you now, Luce?
Yes, unless you're going to do the leaky gut one, which was
Oh,
before.
I
Two
could have
seconds.
that before. Have I skipped one?
Yeah,
Where's it gone?
go back.
Did I skip it? I did. There we go. I completely missed it. So leaky gut, this is exactly what I was just speaking about. So we have in our gut, it is made of cells essentially, and those cells kind of make up the gut lining, and it's very, very thin. We don't have a lot of cells there. Like we don't have like layers upon layers. It's literally like 2 layers thick. So very, very thin, which means it can get damaged very easily. So if you're eating a lot of foods that are quite damaging to the gut lining, you have a lot of stress in your life that can pull the gut lining apart, then you're going to end up with issues. If you've got imbalances in the microbiome that are driving inflammation, same kind of thing. All of that can drive this, what we call leaky gut, where the cells basically come apart. And that means those undigested proteins start to escape through those gaps, stimulate the immune system, cause these reactions. So if you're someone who has multiple food intolerances, I'm telling you now, you've got a leaky gut. That's a fact. You should not be a human being who's literally got a list of all these things that you cannot eat. Yes, maybe there might be one or two foods that cause issues, but if you're finding that loads of things keep making you react and it ends up being more and more and more, that's a sign that you've got a leaky gut. That's not how it should be. You should be able to eat a very diverse, healthy diet and keep bloating at bay and feel good. So if that's not you, then there's something that needs addressing there. So the great thing about the gut lining is it's not like a broken leg. So I always say to people, I use the analogy of a broken leg and I use the analogy of a bin bag as well. So I want you to think like with a bin bag, if you put your food waste in a bin bag, it should stay in the bin, right? Hopefully. But if you put a bit of glass in a bin bag, what happens? You poke a hole in the side, then the bin juice all leaks out, and bin juice is just gross, isn't it? And that's exactly kind of the same scenario that happens in our body. We poke the edge of the gut lining, leave it open, bin juice, endotoxins, bacteria start going through, food particles, and then the immune system is like, oh, that's the mop coming along to be like, get out. And that's essentially what is happening. So think of like if you keep walking on a broken leg all the time, is that leg ever going to heal? No. What you have to do is you have to have a period of rest. You have to have a period where you put a boot on and you use crutches to let the leg heal. But then you do the rehab and then you come out the other side. And as long as you're careful and you look after that leg, you should be able to run like a normal human and all is good. Exactly the same with your gut lining, apart from the fact that it doesn't take 6 to 8 weeks for your gut lining to heal. Your gut lining can heal quite quickly if you're putting the right things in and you're removing the things that are causing the damage in the first place and you're really addressing what's going on in the gut microbiome at the same time. So think of all the wonderful analogies, leaky bin bags, diverse gardens, and I can't remember what the other one was now. Obviously, it wasn't that great because I can't even remember it. The broken leg. There we go. So I'm now going to pass over to Lucy.
Okay. Awesome. Vanna, thanks for your question. Yes, and I'm going to go through that in just a second. So I haven't ignored the question there in the comments. So thanks for that. Um, so as Sarah said, it's so important to recognize that gut health can influence virtually every system in our body. So when our gut health is out of balance, it can manifest in so many different ways, and sometimes in places that you might not actually expect. So let's just look at some of the common signs that may suggest that your gut health needs some attention. So the first thing is digestive issues. This is one of the most obvious signs of an unhealthy gut. So digestive discomfort, bloating, gas, constipation, reflux. They're all kind of classic signs of the gut needing support. There's also food sensitivities, as Sarah said. Unlike food allergies that involve some kind of immune response, intolerances are usually related to difficulty digesting certain foods. So that may also lead to some of those digestive issues after eating certain foods or cramping, even kind of fatigue or brain fog after certain meals. Then we've got skin problems, so conditions like acne, eczema, rosacea. That can often be linked back to the gut inflammation as well. Unexplained weight changes. So when there's an imbalance in the gut bacteria, that can affect how your body stores fat or absorbs nutrients. So this could also be a sign of an unhealthy gut. So with weight gain, if there's an imbalance in the gut bacteria, that can lead to insulin resistance and fat storage, especially around the abdomen. And then with weight loss, on the other hand, that can happen when the gut isn't quite absorbing nutrients properly, which can lead to malnutrition and weight loss, even if you're eating enough. So if you notice that, that could be another symptom. Sleep and fatigue. So your gut makes serotonin. So a disrupted microbiome can also affect the sleep and energy, as well as mental health. So anxiety, low mood, mood swings, they can often be traced back to the gut as well. Because that gut's producing that serotonin, which are critical for mood regulation, an unhealthy gut can disrupt that. Um, and then there's also some autoimmune links as well. So there's lots of emerging research that shows strong ties between the gut imbalance and autoimmune conditions as well. So lots of different signs, and probably if there's two or three in there that you're seeing, then it's likely that your gut needs some attention. So let's look through how we can improve it through our diet. So your gut responds powerfully to what you eat. So these are some of the things that can be some big dietary wins for you. So make sure you've got pen and paper and jot these down. So eating more fiber, so things like fruits, veg, legumes, whole grains, both soluble fiber, which are things like oats and beans that slow digestion, and also insoluble fiber that adds bulk to your stool, things like nuts and seeds and grains. Both of those matter. So eating more fiber in your diet is super important for your gut health. You also want to focus more on plant-based diversity. So it doesn't mean you have to have a plant-based diet over completely, but adding plant-based foods into your diet is absolutely crucial. So aiming for 30 different plants a week is absolutely a thriving microbiome. And a Mediterranean diet, such as vegetables, fruits, nuts, seeds, whole grains, fish, um, foods like that are going to be super, super important. That in that diet, you've got high in fiber and also high in antioxidants as well. Um, then we've also got things like pre and probiotic foods. So probiotics are the live beneficial bacteria in your gut that Sarah was talking about, and they help to replenish and maintain a healthy gut microbiome. Prebiotics are the food for the probiotics, they're the food for the bacteria. So they're types of fiber that feed it. So foods like garlic, onions, leeks, bananas, they're all really great sources of prebiotics. Fermented foods is another great one for the gut. You'll often hear that. So things like live yogurt, kefir, sauerkraut, kimchi, miso, tempeh, they're all natural in probiotics, which is fermented food. And then finally, antioxidants and polyphenols. So berries, green tea, dark chocolate. These polyphenols have antioxidant properties that support anti-inflammatory gut health. So antioxidants are these molecules that protect the body's cells from damage by free radicals. And these are unstable molecules that can damage cells, leading to things like cancers and disease. And Sarah always, I learned a lot of what I know through Sarah, who talks about Pac-Man. So they go around eating all of the cells. So antioxidants are vitamins, minerals, phytonutrients, and they put a tape on those Pac-Man's mouths. So they stop those free radicals going around causing damage. So they're going to protect against that stress and neutralize all those Pac-Men in our bodies. So a diet high in antioxidants is super important. And then in terms of what you want to limit in your food intake, so limiting the obvious, processed foods and refined sugars. These sorts of foods are going to feed the bad bacteria, those weeds in your garden, and they're going to disrupt that balance. And refined sugars can also lead to an overgrowth in harmful bacteria and yeast in the gut. Um, One thing that you can do is to actually try an elimination diet. Sarah talked about if you've got a broken leg, you would rest it. And the same sort of works within the gut as well, actually allowing your gut to actually rest and removing things like gluten and dairy and processed items where you can identify what kind of triggers that flare up or that bloating, etc. And Sarah's going to discuss a little bit later about one of the programs that we actually do on that. So that's all about diet. And then if we look at lifestyle, like food isn't the only factor. Lifestyle plays a huge role in this too. So the obvious factors, things like staying hydrated, that's going to support your digestion and help things flow better. Getting outside and sunshine are super important for your immune and your gut function. And also prioritizing sleep, because poor sleep can disrupt our gut microbiome, which can lead to issues like increased inflammation in the gut. So you want to aim for, between 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep per night, to really support your gut. So those are the kind of obvious lifestyle tips, but also stress. So stress can impact your gut health by the gut-brain axis. So your gut and your brain are heavily linked, right? So there's this huge axis between them. So altering the balance. So if you're stressed, that can alter that axis and alter the balance of the bacteria in your body. So stress management techniques like mindfulness meditation, deep breathing exercises, regular physical activity can really also help support a healthy gut where we're reducing that stress. We also run a free morning club called Be Well, that actually where we do things like mindset and gratitude and all about reducing overwhelm. So if that's something that you feel like you need more of, let us know. And then finally, coming back to Vanda's point there around toxin. So toxin exposure can also alter the immune system and cause oxidative stress. So yes, make sure you're checking your skincare, your cleaning products, your water quality. It can get overwhelming. I totally get it. And the world of nutrition is anyway, but the add-on toxins into it, everything seems to affect everything. But just being more mindful about where you're purchasing these sorts of things from is also going to significantly improve your overall well-being and your gut. And then finally, I was just going to go through sometimes we need a little bit of help. Sometimes there's things that we can do a lot through our diet and through our lifestyle, but sometimes needing a little bit of extra help is going to be really beneficial. So I thought I'd recommend some supplements and recommendations that you may want to add into your daily lifestyle. So I mentioned about prebiotics and probiotics. So probiotics are those beneficial bacteria. These are great to add into your daily routine. Always look for a high quality probiotic, one that contains multiple strains of bacteria and has a high CFU unit count, typically in the billions. And especially if you have been through lots of antibiotics. So if you've had lots of antibiotics before, then definitely want to be adding this in there because that also disrupts. Antibiotics just kill all of the bacteria. It doesn't really care whether it's good or bad. It just kills it all. So adding a probiotic supplement is going to be really beneficial. Prebiotics as well. They can be really super beneficial if you're not getting it from fiber alone. And digestive enzymes. Digestive enzymes help break down food, ensuring that nutrients are absorbed properly. So they can be particularly beneficial for people with conditions like lactose intolerance or those that, especially bloating after meals. So Sarah and I actually use this. I've got one here prepared before. This product is what Sarah and I both use. It's called the Gut Health Digestion and Microbiome Support. It's like a multitasker because those three things, it has it in one. So rather than buying like three different things and three different tablets, this solves that for you. You can just have it in one handy little sachet that you mix into water. They are also heat stable. That's another thing to look for in supplements. So they actually, a lot of the time we use these supplements and we ended up just like peeing them out because the body's process actually kills them off. So because these are heat stable, they survive stomach acid, which is really important. So it actually gets to the gut. Um, Things like omega-3 fatty acids and L-glutamine, these both have anti-inflammatory properties that can repair and protect the gut lining. So that's going to help have a healthy environment for the bacteria. Apple cider vinegar, that's the bottom left picture there. These contain prebiotics and probiotics. It's a fermented vinegar. Just make sure that if you're purchasing that, you get one that says the mother on it, as it's in the most natural state. Greens. Having mentioned all of the fruits and vegetables, it's really important. There are so many greens drinks on the market right now. So just make sure you're doing your due diligence around what's actually in it. A lot can add lots of additional artificial crap, which is then doing the opposite of actually trying to help the gut. So the one that I use actually, anyone that knows me knows I drink my greens every morning. This has got 37 fruits and veggies in it, lots of antioxidants and kid friendly too. Lily literally loves my greens in the morning. And then finally, protein. So, protein, every cell in the body is made from protein. So, hitting your protein goals isn't just for people that just want to lift weights in the gym and grow their muscles. It's literally essential for all of the different things in your body. So, and will keep you nice and full. Especially if you're menopausal, it's also really important to be having lots of protein. Most of us completely underconsume it and over process the protein that we eat. Just be careful, just be mindful around the types of protein. I get asked about protein powders all the time, and there a lot of animal-based protein powders, if they're not very high quality, they can actually cause a lot of digestive discomfort. So I actually use a pea protein, which is really digestible and less likely to cause digestive issues, high in fiber, and not without all of the artificial sugars and flavors and things like that. So super versatile. This is the one that I use. So I think that's everything I was going to share on supplements. I'm just seeing. Go on, over to you, Saz.
Thank you so much, Lucy. So you've all got some like key things that you can start implementing straight away when it comes to your diet. I want you to think like, what does your diet consist of mainly? Do most of your foods look beige and come from packets? Or is there a lot of variety, different colored fruits and veggies, different nuts and seeds, different legumes, different types of protein sources? Because variety really is the spice of life. Like when it comes to your gut health, variety is where it's at. Because otherwise, what happens if we are creatures of habit, which I'm sure many of us are when we're busy, especially, and we eat the same foods on repeat, on rotation, and I've definitely been a culprit of this myself, we create what we call monocolonization in the gut, which means we feed the same bacteria over and over and over. And then that means we're just feeding the same things. And even the good ones, if you overfeed them, and you're only feeding those ones, monocolonization of the gut is not a good thing either. You need that variety. That's what makes everything work as it should. So just eating the same things on repeat probably isn't serving you. I want you to start thinking, can I vary my diet up? Can I switch which grains I'm having? Can I switch what protein sources I'm having? Could I swap the veggies that I'm having and the fruits that I'm having to different ones? And that doesn't mean you have to swap everything every day, but just thinking how often you eating the same things on repeat, that can make such a big difference. Tony asked, do nuts count as part of your 30 different types a week? Yes, they do. So for example, if you had a handful of almonds, that would count as one plant point. So it's not like if you had 10 almonds, that would be 10 plant points. That's just one because it's one variety of a food and you're looking for 30 different ones. And that includes herbs and spices. So things like turmeric, oregano, all of those count as plant points as well. So if you add lots of herbs and spices to your food, which can be super anti-inflammatory and loaded with fibers as well, that's really going to support your gut health too. So the final thing we wanted to share with you, if I can get my slides to move again, is that we run a 30-day nutrition program called the Thrive program. And this is really a great way of nailing the fundamentals if you are someone who's like, where do I begin with all this? How do I break this down into something that's sustainable, that's simple to follow, and that is enjoyable? Because I believe food should be fun. We don't want to do something where it's unsustainable and we feel like we're being tortured. And yes, there may be some of my clients that are like, you're torturing me. And sometimes we do have to go a little bit more extreme depending on what's going on with someone. So when I work with clients on a one-to-one basis, some of that might be slightly different because we have to, you know, do certain things to manipulate the gut microbiome if it has got to that state. But as a kind of baseline nailing the fundamentals, the Thrive program is where it's at, and it covers all of the things that you need. So you have lifetime access to the Thrive app. In the app, there is everything you could possibly think of, recipes galore. So you've got smoothies, you've got, uh, all different breakfast, pancakes, the whole lot. Everything is removing the foods that could be the most inflammatory. So they're gluten-free, dairy-free, artificial sweetener-free, sugar-free. They're all loaded with basically whole food ingredients. But where I think magic happens is when you learn to make your favorite foods out of good quality whole food ingredients. So being able to make, really tasty protein pancakes or breads that aren't loaded with crap, that are gluten-free and made with flax seeds and things, once you start nailing that, that's when life changes dramatically. And that's what we teach you in the Thrive app. You also get meal plans, you get shopping lists, you get cheat sheets. So you never have to play a guessing game. You get workouts as well. So we have on-demand workouts as well as strength training based programs, meditation, yoga, breath work, mindset support. So the app was put together by myself, two doctors and a personal trainer and a mindset coach. So we cover everything to help from the mind and body because they both work together. And like Lucy mentioned with regards to stress, you can be doing all the right things, putting all the right things in. If you're stressed to the high heavens, it's not going to work. And vice versa. You could be a Zen master, but if you're putting all the wrong things in, it's not going to work. You have to combine the two. Education galore. So you get educated on gut health, toxicity, uh, blood sugar management, all of the things that are important. A fabulous community that you get to be a part of, and all the support that you would need to do the program efficiently as well. And we've had so many people who have been through this program now, over 3,000, in fact. And some of the testimonials that we get from it are incredible. And just it's for me, it's like, having that kind of impact on thousands of people. Whereas as a nutritionist, I can only see so many people myself. But with this program, it gives me the ability to help more people on a wider scale. And like I said, we've seen some incredible transformations, both mentally, physically, in skin health, in energy, in mood, in all different areas with the program. So if this sounds like something that could be a really great fit for you, you're looking for some guidance and you don't want to play the guessing game on your own anymore. And I've been there myself. Like I think we all have, where there's so much noise online. There's so much information out there, which is a blessing and a curse all in one. I have this love-hate relationship with the internet because you can learn anything, but you can learn anything. And you have two people who say completely different things, and they could both be right, but are they right for you? So basically, the program really helps you just cut through the noise, nail the fundamentals, and get yourself a baseline healthy habits program that then you can start to adapt and add things to and work deeper into. So if that sounds like something that could be a great fit for you, please let us know and we can share more information with you. Speak to me or Lucy, and we'll be able to help you or whoever invited you onto this call. We've got about 3 or 4 minutes left. So if anyone has any questions they would like to ask, you can type them in the chat box, and we will go through them quickly. So anyone want to ask anything? I mean, I was just happy when Lucy said the words dark chocolate, to be honest. I am literally a dark chocolate fiend. I'm like, my polyphenols, I need it. Maybe I overdose on it
And
slightly.
red wine isn't all the
Red
worst thing in the world,
wine.
is
Red
it?
wine. Could this help with candida issues? Now, there's a question, Vicky. So, candida is an interesting one because it's a yeast and everyone has candida, but candida overgrows when it has the opportunity. So, it's that kind of opportunistic kind of environment. So if you have got low stomach acid, you've got an imbalance in your microbiome, that's when yeast starts to overgrow because everyone has it and it should be kept in check by all the goodies and everything else going on in the gut. So in some aspects, yes, because what it's going to help you do is increase those good bacteria to crowd out the bad bacteria, reduce stress, manage all of that. But it depends to what extent. Because sometimes when things are too far gone, what we actually have to do is peel everything back and do what we call antimicrobials to get rid of things before we can repopulate, or we can do the two kind of in combination, but you have to make sure you're putting the right probiotics in, etc. What foods can trigger eczema, or are there any foods to avoid if you have eczema? Again, that can be quite individual because everyone will have different immune systems and different things that trigger. But what I would say is when it comes to eczema, you have to be thinking about your gut lining. So you need to be thinking about that immune system because eczema is driven by the immune system. So if you've got undigested particles escaping through the gut lining and stimulating your immune system, that is going to make eczema 10 times worse. So I would do an elimination diet. I would do a period of removing things like gluten, dairy, artificial sweeteners, processed foods, exactly what we do in the Thrive program, essentially. Remove those so your gut lining has time to heal. Add in things like aloe, L-glutamine. Again, we have some supplements that can help with that. Put in the good probiotics to rebalance everything. And then from there, you can start to work out of it and bring things back in. So that would be my recommendation. Um, I constantly have to reduce my cholesterol. Any further advice would be great. So cholesterol, I could talk about this for days. Oh my goodness. Cholesterol is not the baddie that it is made out to be. Cholesterol is vital for your health, for your hormones, for everything, for your brain function. If you are worried about your cholesterol, the one thing I would suggest you do is go and get a fractionated lipid panel done. So a fractionated lipid panel breaks down what is that cholesterol made of. The size of the particles within the cholesterol is the most important thing. 50% of people who have heart attacks don't have raised cholesterol at all. It's not the cholesterol. Cholesterol is actually doing its job. It's meant to be in your system. It's helping things function. It's when certain bits get out of balance and you have too many of the small particles that do the damage, because what they're doing is getting stuck on the artery walls. And then what should come in is the HDL comes in and cleans it off. But when they're hard, you basically can't get them off. It's like drywall plaster stuck on, essentially. That's got nothing to do with gut health at all, but I needed to share that. But yes, looking after your gut, reducing inflammation is a huge one when it comes to cholesterol, the kind of different types of cholesterol as well. LDL, which is seen as the baddie, which is not necessarily that true. Again, it's not that black and white that HDL is the good and LDL is the bad. It's about the size of the particles within the LDL. But LDL is the immune system within the cardiovascular system. So when we start to see LDL rise, it's because the immune system is upregulated. So again, it goes back to reducing inflammation, making sure your gut is healthy to bring inflammation down, getting diet variation in, lots of anti-inflammatory foods, polyphenols, antioxidants, etc., to start helping work through that. You mentioned the Zoe test at the beginning of the call, but I was to ask what that is. It's not something I'd recommend, to be honest with you. I'm sorry to say, but I wouldn't. It is a test that looks at the microbiome, but it's very AI driven and it's not as in depth as I would like it to be. So, unfortunately, it's not something I recommend to people. The GI map is something I do recommend. If you are struggling with your health in some way and it's quite extensive, or you've done an elimination diet and you've done all the things that we've recommended and it's not getting better, then yes, absolutely, a GI map is a good place to go to because it's going to show you all of your bacteria within your gut. It's going to show you inflammation. It's going to show you your immune system within your gut, yeast, parasites, which a lot of people have without knowing it. And again, we all have parasites, as whether they take hold to you. And the reason they do is if you've got a compromised immune system, low stomach acid, and low digestive enzymes, and not a warm environment to kill them off, basically. So yeah. So yeah, GI map is a great idea. You would probably need interpretation of it. You would look at it and be like, I have no idea what half of that means. So again, if you need help with that, pop us a message because we can help with that. Um, da, 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 da. Yeah, and that's everything, I think. So yeah, thank you so much for joining us, everyone. Hope that's been super helpful. Anyone who would like more information on the supplements that we've recommended or on the Thrive program, reach out to us and we can get everything set up for you with fabulous discounts. And anyone who needs any other kind of help, again, please feel free to reach out and we will do the best we can to support you in any way that we can. So thank you so much, everyone. Thanks, Luce, and I will see you all very soon.
Thanks, everyone. Bye, bye, bye.